Alright, so it's 33 minutes past 9. I welcome you to another exciting edition of From the Newspaper, streaming live from the premises of the Aces Hotel, Akbete, Ibadan. Good morning to you all. We are listening to MFM 97.3, where we set the agenda and project the truth. And don't forget you can watch us live on Facebook at MFM 97.3. And to watching us, do well to like, comment, and share. Remember, don't forget this program is in form of 3 segments. The first segment is the weather forecast reports of 3 major cities in Nigeria: the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, the commercial city of Lagos, and the vibrant city of Ibadan. Where the second segment on the show is the headlines, make round of Nigerian newspaper. And as usual, always bring 4 newspaper every morning: the Punch newspaper, the Vanguard newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, and the Nigerian Tribune. Where the last segment on the show is the details to the headlines. My name is SHAQEEROH AKINYEMI. So moving on to the first segment on the show, which is the weather forecast report. On the first city I'll bring in on is the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. At 10 a.m. in Abuja this morning, it's cloudy with 22 degrees Celsius. At 11 a.m. it's cloudy with 23 degrees Celsius. And at 12 p.m. it's cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. At 1 p.m. it's cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. And at 2 p.m. it's cloudy with 25 degrees Celsius. At 3 p.m. it's cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. And at 4 p.m. it's cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. At 5 p.m. it's mostly cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. And at 6 p.m. it's intermittent clouds with 23 degrees Celsius. At 7 p.m. it's cloudy with 22 degrees Celsius. And at 8 p.m. it's intermittent cloud with 22 degrees Celsius. At 9 p.m. it's mostly cloudy with 22 degrees Celsius. And at 10 p.m. it's cloudy with 21 degrees Celsius. At 11 p.m. it's intermittent cloud with 21 degrees Celsius. At 10 a.m. in the commercial city of Lagos this morning is rain with 25 degrees Celsius. At 11 a.m. is rain with 26 degrees Celsius. And at 12 p.m. is rain with 27 degrees Celsius. At 1 p.m. is rain with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 2 p.m. is rain with 28 degrees Celsius. At 3 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 6 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. At 5 p.m. is cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. And at 6 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. At 7 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 8 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. At 9 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. Up until 10 p.m. is cloudy with 27 degrees Celsius. At 11 p.m. is mostly cloudy with 27 degrees Celsius. At 10 a.m. in the vibrant city of Ibadan this morning, where we are transmitting live from. At 10 a.m. is cloudy with 26 degrees Celsius. And at 11 a.m. is cloudy with 27 degrees Celsius. At 12 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 1 p.m. is rain with 29 degrees Celsius. At 2 p.m. is cloudy with 30 degrees Celsius. And at 3 p.m. is mostly cloudy with 30 degrees Celsius. At 4 p.m. is intermittent cloud with 29 degrees Celsius. And at 5 p.m. is mostly cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. At 6 p.m. is rain with 27 degrees Celsius. And at 7 p.m. is cloudy with 26 degrees Celsius. At 8 p.m. is cloudy with 25 degrees Celsius. And at 9 p.m. is cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. At 10 p.m. is mostly cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. And at 11 p.m. is intermittent cloud with 23 degrees Celsius. So moving on to the second segment on the show, which is headlines make round of Nigerian newspaper. And the first newspaper we're bringing on this morning is the Punch newspaper. The lead story on the Punch newspaper this morning says, Pengasan strike, NNPC laments losses as junior halt action. And page 2 has the details to that story. are two riders to that story. The first rider says 60% of crude output, 30% of gas supply disrupted during strike. Another rider says dispute risks economic instability, says federal government. Another rider says Pengastan suspension, not cancellation. We will strike again if deals fails. And the last rider says Dangote denies baptism staffs, and page 2 has the details to that story. And above the line of the Punch newspaper this morning says Fubara sacks commissioners and others, and page 3 has the details to that story. Nigeria at 65. Tinubu's reforms years to his hardship, says experts, and page 27 has the details to that story. Still on the Punch newspaper, another story says one doctor attends to 9,183 Nigerians' night laments, and page 2 has the details to that story. $853 billion naira crimes proceed recovery in 1 year, says EFCC, and page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Story says Nigeria language in prison after Ethiopia stalls memorandum of understanding, and page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Kongi boat crash, death throw hits 26 Tinubu months, and page 4 and 5 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Nigeria's 8-month debt service bills its $2.86 billion, says CBN, and page 30 has the details to that story. Nigeria arrested for attempted trafficking of daughter to Iraq, and page 5 has the details to that story. Last story on the Punch newspaper says Wale Tinubu backs African Energy Award in South Africa, and page 27 has the details to that story. So moving on to the Vanguard newspaper. The lead story on the Vanguard newspaper this morning says Nigeria at 65. Opposition leaders others take Tinubu stacks, and page 5 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And there are a lot of riders to that story. The first rider says Tinubu unmoved on curing aimed hunger, bandit attack, says Atiku. Nigeria failing under APC, says Obi. If the worst is over, why are Nigerians still dying, says ADC. Another rider says we are hungry for food, not statistics, says Khan. Another rider says Nigeria's failure black under leader with the entitled of mentality, says Angelica Premier, and page 5 has the details to that stories. Another story on the Vanguard newspaper says stocks market investors earn 1.8 trillion naira in September. Aimed CBN's reform. In page 20 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Tinubu not jittery about opposition, says presidency. In page 8 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Death of a Rise TV anchor. Some Tochukwu jumped from third floor. In page 7 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Pakistan suspends strike after federal government intervention. In page 8 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Iyaloja General is aligned to her, says Oba of Benin. In page 12 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
2027 Amici Obi Uton push to end courtroom democracy. In page 8 has the details to that story. US shut down visa passport service to continue in Nigeria, says embassy. And the last story on the Vanguard newspaper says Obi Lagos government diva over trade fair complex demolition. In page 10 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
And the latest story on the Guardian newspaper says leader calls for reform on poverty, insecurity, inflation, democracy. In page 6 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Tinubu Ododo must as victim of Kogi boat mishap rise to 26. And page 30 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Dangote rift with Pengasan unfortunate, says man. In page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
And the last story on the Guardian newspaper says pro plus to fleece or show local government of 12.75 billion naira. PDP tells IGP EFCC. And page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So moving on to the last newspaper on the second segment, which is Nigerian Tribune. And the lead story on Nigerian Tribune says Dangote Pengasan suspend strike, issue fresh threats. And page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
And there's one rider to that story that says how federal government will create trust over disputes. And page 3 has the details to that story. Another story on Nigerian Tribune says Lagos government fault Obi on trade fair demolition. Insists building had no approval. And page 5 has the details to that story. Kwara, security forces attack kidnappers hideout. Government urged limited movement. And page 21 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Scarcity of cooking gas hits Lagos. Vendor sells 1,700 per kg. And page 4 has the details to that story. Don't sell our assets in oil industry. ADC cautions Tinubu. And page 4 has the details to that story. Report warns Nigeria of declining global oil demands. And page 6 has the details to that story. And there's one rider to that story that says urges focus on non-oil export tax reforms. And page 6 has the details to that story. Health. Eating more fruits protects lungs against air pollution, says studies. And page 23 has the details to that story. Probe attempts to pay out 12.75 billion naira Osun local government funds as legal fees. PDP asks IGP, EFCC. And page 21 has the details to that story. And there's one rider to that story that says PDP is confused, party should be ignored, says APC spokesman. And page 21 has the details to that story. And last story on Nigerian Tribune says Kogi government mourns as 26 feared killed, other missings in both accidents. And page 3 has the details to that story.
Audio Jungle.
Alright, so we have come to the end of the second segment. Before we divert into the last segment, let's go on a break. Stay tuned, I'll be right back.
Ìgbà tó tó gbá ní í ṣe baálé ọba gbọ́migbọ́mi, kọ̀ǹkọ̀ tó tún kọ̀ǹkọ̀ ní í ṣe ọba wọn lálẹ́ odò. Bó jẹ́ tìròyìn tó pójú owó, orin tó dùn ún gbọ́ létí, àṣà, ẹ̀fẹ̀ àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí lọ́lọ́kanjọ̀kan. Ìkànnì AM/FM rédíò ọba ló jẹ́ láwùjọ rédíò.
The Aces Hotels and Conference Center is one and only event place with a clear difference and tasteful excellence here in the ancient city of Ibadan. For your next and upcoming event, whether marriage engagement, wedding reception, anniversaries, conferences, seminars or birthday, the Aces Hotels and Conference Center is affordable and fully equipped with all imaginable ultra-modern facilities for your total convenience without headache, security, power, environment, parking space, and royal service by their staff. All roads lead to the Aces Hotel and Conference Center today at kilometer 2.5 Ijokodo Akbete Akufo Road, Akere, Ibadan. For booking and more information, call 080-8746-7420, 080-9744-1898, or 080-2869-0012. The Aces Hotels and Conference Center, where comfortability speaks than words.
àjànàkú kọjá mo rí nǹkan fìrí tá a bá rèrè ká bá rèrè ìkànnì MFM radio and TV ẹ̀yẹ tí ó dorí kodò bí àdó òsì ẹ má ìdúró ń bẹ̀ fún ìròyìn tí ò lábùlà ìròyìn eré ìdárayá orin tó dùn pálí sí àṣà ẹ̀fẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí gbogbo tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ gbọ́ gbogbo tẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ mọ̀ lójú kan ṣoṣo òun náà ló wà ní ìkànnì MFM radio and TV àjà ló lẹ́rù ìrọ̀ nígbà.
MFM fún ìdálárayá ètò àsìkò ìkọ́nilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ìgbà gbogbo AFM ní kẹ́ ẹ máa gbọ́ ẹ má gbé kúrò níbẹ̀ nígbà gbogbo ẹni tó bá ríjó tí ò jó ẹni tó bá ráyọ̀ tí ò yọ̀ ọjọ́ tí ò pẹ́ ní ó sunra rẹ̀ láwọ̀ ara AFM ló ní kẹ́ ẹ ríjó kẹ́ ẹ jó kẹ́ ẹ ráyọ̀ kẹ́ ẹ sì máa yọ̀ AFM ni ẹ máa gbọ́ ni ẹ máa wò nígbà gbogbo.
So welcome back to the show. It's still from the newspaper. Don't forget you can watch us live on Facebook at MFM 97.3. Now, as watching us, do well to like, comment, and share. We are now in the last segment of From the Newspaper this morning, which is the details to the headlines. And the first story bringing on says, NNPC laments losses as union halt action. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Group of Chief Executive Officer SHAQEEROH Ojulari has lamented the crude oil and gas production losses resulting from the trade strike carried out by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. In a letter written to the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority and Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Ojulari expressed that the suspended strike leads to 16% oil production and 30% marketed gas losses, while the nation suffers 20% power supply shortfall. The National Oil Company's letter dated 29 September 2025 and the title Impact Assessment of Ongoing Industrial Action was also sent to the National Security Advisor and Director General, Department of State Service. The industrial action caused by the rift between the Union and Dangote refinery, forced shutdown of the major terminal gas plants and power facilities, leading to the defendant of 283,000 barrels of crude oil per day and 1.7 billion standard of cubic feet gas daily, choking off fighter income stream of the company's two biggest revenue resources. This came the leadership of the union announced the suspension of its nationwide strike against the Dangote Petroleum Refinery following the intervention of the federal government, even as it cautioned that the trust remained temporary and could be revisited if the pending issue were not be addressed. The Punch report that both Pengassan and the management of 650,000 refinery have been logged. The rift seemed that from the allegation Pengassan that the Dangote refinery engaged in mass transfer and the sacking of union member, while the replacing some Nigerian with a foreign national claimed the companies consistently denied. The refinery management stated that the workforce of the organization was due to operational requirements and not related to the union activities. The standoff escalated when the union embarked on an industrial action by halting gas and crude oil supplies to the refinery, raising the alarm over potential disruption of the national energy supply and economic stability. The federal government interferes over the concern about the impact of the dispute, citing the risks of the diverse effects on the economic and energy security, with the convinced high-level talk to resolve the impasses. Detailing the financial losses in the letter obtained by the Punch correspondent on Wednesday, the NNPC LC GEO said the industrial action resulted in significant production deferment. Ojulari disclosed that within the first 24 hours of the strike, as of September 29, 2025, production deferment stood at 283,000 barrels of oil per day, 1.7 billion standard cubic feet of gas per day, and more than 1,200 megawatts of power generation. According to him, This translates to around 16% of national oil production, 30% of the marketed gas, and 20% of the electricity supply, with the impact expected to intensify with the situation in gas. The gas sector also recorded the heavy losses during the strike, with about 1.7 billion standard cubic feet per day taken offline. Industrial data showed that this volume translates to roughly 1.7 million MCF of gas daily, which when converted at 1.37 MMBTU per MFC amounts to 1.76 million MMBTU each day. It further explained that at least 5 scheduled criticized maintenance activities have been affected, with knock-on effects likely to worsen deferment in subsequent periods. This include the Ulsan turnaround maintenance, Akpo GT3 pigging, H2 washout. Ojulari also revealed that about 200,000 barrels per day of crude oil and 1.341 million standard cubic feet of non-stainless gas around joint ventures of production sharing contract assets, which were due to be restocked this week, have not been delayed. Ojulari noted that while a limited number of non-unionized staff were still facilitating crude export, operation remained heavily constrained. He warned that the ongoing and the scheduled lifting operation across the terminal were likely to suffer further financial setback in the upcoming months, raising the risk to demur the claims and international buyers. At the Brass terminal, for instance, the loading of NNPC cargo that was close to completion of standard oil documentation could not be finalized due to strike. The delay is said. The NNPC boss stressed that the financial throw was maintaining rapidly with the significant revenue losses project at the current deferment, and details of the news is on Punch newspaper. 24 rescued, 14 dead, 42 missing in Kongi boat crash, says NEMA. The National Emergency Management Agency has reported that 24 passengers were rescued, 14 bodies recovered, and 42 people remain missing following a boat accident on River Niger in Ibadan local government area, Kongi State. NEMA, in his post shared on X on Thursday, that the incident occurred on Tuesday and involved a boat carrying about 80 passengers traveling from Ogunwa community to Olushi village in Ibiji local government area. Both accidents are recurring and serious challenge in Nigeria, particularly in Rivers State, where waterway service and key transport routes. Over the year, incidents involving overcrowded vessels, poorly maintenance boats, and insufficient adherence to safety regulations have reclaimed hundreds of lives. It noted that community rovers are actively assisting official rescue team, and the operations are ongoing with the updates to follow. The agency emphasized that the rescue efforts are being coordinated with the active participation of the multiple agencies and stakeholders, including the Kongi State Emergency Management Agency, the Local Emergency Management Committee, IBG, and the Area Security and Civil Defense Corps, the National Inland Waterway Authority, the Fire Service, the Nigerian Road Cross Society, local drivers, and community members. While the earlier report that had put the death toll to 26, at least reports from NEMA confirmed that 24 passengers were rescued, 14 bodies recovered, and 42 people were still missing following the boat accident. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu condoled with the government and the people of Kongi State over the sad incident. The National Emergency Management Agency has reported that 24 passengers were rescued. NEMA, in its post, soldiers fought terrorist attack in Taraba, kills 2 suspects. Troops of 6 Brigade Nigeria Army Sector 3 Operational Wild Stroke have successfully foiled a terrorist attack and neutralized 2 suspect terrorists in Taraba. This contained a statement released on Wednesday by Umar Mohammed, Acting Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, Brigade Nigerian Army. He quoted Brig Kingsley, commander of the brigade, commanded at the top of their swift response, resilience, and professionalism. Mohammed also quoted the commander as urging the troops to maintain the momentum, assuring residents of the state that the barrack mandate fully committed to ensuring their safety. He further called on the member of the public and continue to support the ongoing operation Lafia Nawoku by providing timely and credible information that would aim in the fight against the criminality. SAC commissioner orders. Rivers State Governor Similayo Fubara has sacked all commissioners and other public office holders serving in his administration. The decision, according to a statement issued in Port Harcourt on Wednesday evening by the Chief Press Secretary Nyesom Chukwudi, takes immediate effect and followed the recent Supreme Court judgment. The governor, during a valedictory sitting with the cabinet to mark Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary at the Government House, Port Harcourt, thanked the ongoing officials for their service and contribution to the state development over the past 2 years. Fubara also reiterated that his commitment to serve the state with renewed vigor, while expressing gratitude to River people for their support and wishing Nigeria a happy independence anniversary. Record that the immediate past administrator of the state, Vice Admiral Ibokwete Ibas, upon assumption of his office during the emergency rule imposed by President Bola Tinubu, suspended all commissioners, special advisor, and assistants appointed by Fubara. Ibas also dissolved board and suspended head of parastatals to meet his office. Since Ibas existed at the state September 18, the fate of Fubara appointees have remained uncertain. The Rivers State House of Assembly, at the first sitting after the lifting the emergency rule, had called on governors to submit a fresh list of commissioners' nominees for screening alongside the 2025 budget for passage. Story says Nigeria languish in prison as Ethiopia stalls repatriation memorandum of understanding. Dozens of Nigeria remain behind bar in Ethiopia as efforts of repatriation stall, following delays in finalizing a crucial memorandum of understanding between both countries. The agreement, which would allow the convicted Nigerians to serve the remainder of their sentence at home, has yet to be ratified by the Ethiopian government, despite repeated diplomatic engagement and mounting pressure from the civil society group. Speaking on the matter on Wednesday, the Minister of the State of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianas Odumogu Ochukwu, said the delay was not from the Nigerian side. The minister disclosed in 2023 that more than 270 Nigerians were serving various prison terms in Ethiopia, mostly for drug-related offences. Families and advocacy groups have continued to raise an alarm over the poor condition in detention centres, despite the Federal High Court ruling in November 2024, ordering the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Nigerian Diaspora Commission to facilitate the return of Nigerians imprisoned in Ethiopia. Progress remains stalled. The court has noted Ethiopia's admission that it lacked the budget to care for foreign inmates. Renewed pressure was mounted on April 17, 2025, when Ogunjo Ochukwu led the delegation to meet the Ethiopian ambassador to Nigeria, Legacy's Premier O, urging Ethiopia to expedite the memorandum of understanding.
Jungle.
One doctor attends to 9,083 Nigerians, NAD laments. The Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors on Wednesday decried the country poor doctor-to-patient ratio to 1:1,983, describing it as a far from global best practice. In a press statement issued on Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary, the association announced that with the effect from the country, with the effect from today, October 4th, the resident doctor across the country will no longer take continuous call beyond 24 hours. The statement was signed by NAD President Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, Secretary General Dr. Shuaibu Ibrahim, and Publicity and Social Secretary Dr. Abdulmajid Ibrahim. Nigeria has long struggled with the shortage of doctors, worsened by a steady exodus of health professionals seeking better pays and working conditions abroad. According to the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, over 16,000 Nigerian doctors have left the country in the last 5 or 7 years to regain general pressure in the other country. The consequence is crushing workload on those remain, especially resident doctors, who form the backbone of Nigeria's tertiary healthcare system. Medical Association have repeatedly warned that unless conditions improve, more doctors will continue to leave, worsening the crisis. The association called on the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare to implement a one-to-one replacement policy to reduce the crushing workload on doctors, and the established safeguarding regulatory to curb exercise call hours, ensuring safety for both doctors and patients. NAD also emphasized that the few doctors who remain in Nigeria despite mass immigration were parrots and heroes.
Audio Jungle.
Nigeria arrested for attempt trafficking of daughter to Iraq. The National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons said it arrested no fewer than 5 suspected human traffickers and rescued 24 victims at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, among whom was father who attempted to traffic his daughter to Iraq. The NAPTIP National Press Officer, Vincent Adekoye, disclosed that the statement of Wednesday is going to growing concern with the rise of cases of human trafficking, especially the rise in Japa syndrome. According to Adekoye, the operation, which was based in credible intelligence, was led by the agency Director General, Binta Adamu Bello. Noted that among the suspects was retired senior security agent, allegedly a prominent member of the syndicate within southwest region of the country. Adekoye noted that the victims were young persons between the age 15 and 26 who had been recruited from Kano, Katsina, Oyo, Ondo, Rivers State, and were heading to Iraq, Sudan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Afghanistan. While quoting that, the victim Adekoye noted that other victim vows to ensure that her father was prosecuted for attempting to traffic her to Iraq. He added that another victim disclosed that her mother was lured into a believing that she was going to Europe to work and earn in dollars. Reacting to NAPTIP, DG expressed his sadness over the activities. Some suspected human traffickers are unregistered labor recruiters who have been continuing to receive, recruit, and traffic Nigerians for various forms of exploitations.
Audio Jungle.
Global market soars to US rate hopes. Equities jumped Thursday after data showing job losses in the Nigerian private sector found optimism for more interest rates to cut the overshadows a partial shutdown of the country government. Tech firms lead the way of higher the deal between the South Korean biggest chips firm and OpenAI added the fuel to the AI lead rally that helped the push market to record highs. While debate raged over the impact of the closure of some U.S. departments, owing a standoff between lawmakers in Washington, investors continue to focus on the outlook for more Federal Reserve risk cuts. The hope were given a boost Wednesday by figures from payroll firms, ADC showing companies shared 32,000 posts last month, confounding forecasts for gain for more than 50,000. The data was the latest in stride below par report, indicating the labor market in the world top economy continued to show off with give one more impetus for the Fed to cut rate rise more before the year ending. Observing that the reading a little more significant owing the expectation that the crucial non-firms payroll statistics will not be released as usual on Friday owing the shutdown. The Korean firm said they had signaled preliminary deals with the U.S. company to provide ships for the equipment for its static project during the visit to Seoul by OpenAI Chief Executive Sam Altman.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Alright, so we have come to the end of from the newspaper this morning. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for staying tuned. My name is SHAQEEROH AKINYEMI. Have a great day.